So everybody see my black screen. So thank you everybody for the opportunity to introduce you to our ontology management platform, Modem.io. In the call with me, as Alan already said, are Moritz Eberl, our CEO, and Sebastian Faubel, our CTO. And I'm Stefan Summesberger, Head of Business Development at Semiodesk. Before I proceed with my presentation, I have to ask you for a favor. Please allow me approximately 10 minutes or so of time to go through the presentation before we open up for discussion. I propose this format, which may seem a bit unusual for Estes Park Group meeting because the problems we address and the approaches we propose are in areas where we expect a high level of expertise in this round. We assume, therefore, that there is a lot of potential for discussion if and how our approach fits into your everyday lives. Modem.io's features are built around real use cases of industry clients and partners addressing their pains in the area of knowledge modeling. So we are eager to exchange views and opinions in the discussion afterwards. So the way I propose to proceed is I give you a brief overview of who we are and what we do. After that, I will introduce you to knowledge modeling with Modem.io, as well as I will walk you through Modem.io, showing you features I would like to specifically highlight in this meeting. Selected statements by Modem.io beta users will conclude this presentation before we engage in a hopefully vivid discussion in about 10 minutes from now. Assuming that this is fine with you, I will kick off my slide deck without further ado. So we are Semiodesk, a Germany-based software company focusing on semantic web, linked data, and knowledge graph applications. We offer consulting and specialize in application development. Our product family includes Trinity RDF, our enterprise-ready object mapper for developing RDF knowledge graph applications, and our ontology management platform, Modem.io. Modem lets you easily create well-documented ontologies and turn them into ready-to-use software packages. Our CEO, Moritz, CTO, Sebastian, and myself are the people in charge of managing Semiodesk. And with over 10 years experience in the area of semantic web and knowledge graphs, we rely on the W3C semantic web standards for maximum sustainability of our solutions. So let's have a look at Modem.io now. The infographic in the following slide depicts an enterprise knowledge graph environment. Different types of disparate data in the upper left side, such as application data, data in databases, files, or production data, are connected and semantically enriched and therefore understandable for intelligent applications such as 360-degree analytics, artificial intelligence, question answering, and semantic search. The key to semantic data enrichment is the knowledge model or the business ontology you see in the lower right corner. So far, so good. In the approaches that we see, the business ontology is generated by ontologists who have to make quite some effort to consult literature, industry standards, and existing ontologies. On top of that, conducting interviews with domain experts as well as syncing pace with management and software engineering are part of their everyday jobs. Questions and pains we often hear talking to our clients who apply model-driven design approaches are: creating ontologies is complicated, where do I find industrial standards, or where do I find an ontology to start from? Also, we identify a potential bottleneck. Gathering the information and knowledge necessary to create and maintain a business ontology. Do all these tasks really require the skill set and expertise of an ontologist? So what if we got all stakeholders to team up and work on the business ontology together? With Modem.io, we want to strongly promote such an approach. Modum's user interface is designed to take out the complexity of ontology management and opens it up to all stakeholders. Features such as autofill suggestions or Modum.io's visual editor contribute to a user experience which makes knowledge modeling a participatory process in which domain experts as well as managers and software engineers collaborate on the business ontology. This way, Modum.io empowers ontologists to expand their capabilities to manage a higher number of ontology projects simultaneously, while software engineers benefit from Modum.io's source code generators, allowing them to download code packages ready for dissemination. A GitHub integration is also available, which allows you and your ontology collaborators and software engineers to access and manage multiple versions of the ontologies in Modum.io. This paves the way for continuous integration and continuous deployment of the source code generated from the ontologies. As the business ontology expands, it is being fed back into the knowledge base for further extension and reuse. So let's take a closer look at Modum.io's user interface, which delivers knowledge to your fingertip as you navigate the user dashboard. Here, you can switch between either viewing recently used ontologies or browsing and searching Modum.io's powerful knowledge base. In this case, the knowledge base view is selected. At the top in the middle, you can search the knowledge base for ontologies to reuse or extend according to your purposes. On the right side, you can filter the domains you want to search. In the middle of the screen, you see ontology previews. Short descriptions guide you as you start your project. As you edit an ontology, you can browse for existing concepts in the classes view. On the left side of the classes view, you see all classes of the ontology displayed as a tree view. In this case, the class muscle is selected in the schema.org ontology. On the right side, upon search, definitions for muscle as well as more specific types of muscles are recommended from the ontologies the knowledge base contains, and as you hover them, wiki articles or descriptions are displayed. Modum.io's documentation is divided in two main spaces, a wiki and a visual editor. This is the wiki area of the built-in documentation feature, which allows those who work on the ontology to make its description richer and more collaboration-friendly. This is how the knowledge models can be enriched with non-formalized or process-specific background knowledge, serving, for instance, as an entry point for new contributors to get familiar with the knowledge model they participate in. As promised before, there is a second space in the documentation area, Modum.io's visual ontology editor. As part of the rich documentation feature of Modum.io, the visual editor serves as the enabler for collaborative knowledge modeling. As you add classes and connect them with properties, not only do you create a visual documentation, but you also modify the actual ontology you currently edit. Property, as well as class suggestions for auto-completion, pop up from your ontology as you type. So let's wrap this up real quick. Modum.io is easier as no ontology skills are required for domain experts and software engineers to collaborate. Modum.io is faster as it assists with creating articles, diagrams, and source code to support projects. And Modum.io is smarter as it provides you with autofill suggestions from over 260 curated ontologies to turbo boost knowledge engineering. This is also what beta users confirm, as Schneider Electric Semantic Web and ontology engineer Alexis Radisson testifies. From Modum.io comes in very useful when a group of people want to develop an ontology. It is the most user-friendly development tool I have seen so far, and it is not as complex as Protégé or TopBraid There is no install as it is browser-based. From the perspective of Senior Principal Architect Imran Khan, Modem.io is a real time saver from model to code with its code generator. The ability to quickly test and validate the model has great benefits for teams that are somewhat pessimist about semantic web. He summarizes that Modem.io is a single tool that covers the end-to-end ontology workflow from initial conceptual design to its programmatical usage. Also, Sebastian from WCSAD, Germany's leading vendor of computer-assisted design software for engineering purposes, values Modem.io. He says that Modem.io allows our developers and requirements engineers to collaborate on a controlled vocabulary. The data model packages generated from it significantly reduce the integration effort into our products and services. So I hope this product intro provided an informative overview over Modem.io, and we're all ready to discuss now, and we're curious about your questions.
That was excellent. You hit exactly 10 minutes there. I bet you've done this before.
I sure did.
So, you say it's standards based. I didn't see. Can you show us how you implement axioms? You know, restrictions and booleans and things like that.
I think I should pass this on to Sebastian directly.
Yeah, sure. So we have the direct support for the XSD data types built into Modem.io for data properties. And we currently do not have support for OWL restrictions or more complex axioms. So Modem.io is restricted to RDFS class reasoning and the RDFS language spectrum, apart from being able to model object properties, inverse properties, functional properties, etc. And that is mainly for the reason to keep things simple, and our practical experience is that most databases, or the most common standard in databases that support Sparkle querying have support for logical reasoning at RDFS level. So that's that's where we make the most value from at the moment. So we're looking at implementing more advanced OWL features in future, but at the moment we try to focus on keeping things simple and having the best practices from our experience. So we are open to suggestions. That is something that you think is valuable for you.
Well, I totally understand if you're selling a product, you should make it simple, and that 99% of your audience doesn't understand OWL. I totally get you're doing that. I mean, we do, and we use OWL, so we probably won't be a candidate for your tool, but there are many people that are.
Can I ask something? Would it really disrupt this meeting if we got a 5-minute demo, live demo?
Yeah, I was wondering if there is a live demo, Jans. Sebastian, you got one available, or Moritz?
Yeah, sure. But I think somebody needs to make me presenter.
While that's coming up, I was wondering, you mentioned the curated set of ontologies. Can you add, if you already had a corporate ontology that you wanted to include, is it able to import that?
That's precisely the idea.
Okay.
So can you all see my screen?
Okay.
Yes. No. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good. So this is the knowledge base that we were talking about. So We currently have over 260 ontologies in there, categorized with tags that you can adapt to your needs. So we have make data exploration a little bit more easy, so we can have a look at the ontologies that we have here. So for instance, there's the shackle ontology, and one thing about Modom.io and the knowledge base is that you can jump right in and have a look at the ontology and all the concepts to actually be able to decide if that's something that you would like to include, to import, or extend into your existing projects. So what you see here in the class view is the classes, of course, but okay, so shackle is probably not the best example here. Just hop into my demo project here, something that we did for SAP. And what you see here is that we have, that's a simple COVID RDF tracker example application. We didn't build an actually productive, that was never the deal of the project, but to demonstrate how the technology can benefit. What you see here is the class view of the class encounter, and that's our own encounter class that is derived from schema.org. So this ontology has imported schema.org, and something that's wrong here, but anyway. And what you see here is that when you derive encounter from event, then you inherit a lot of properties that you can use in your application. So we focus on implementing a logical view that actually gets people to see what they inherit and what they get from extending other ontologies. We want to really make that a lot very simple. So we have here this. Then the other thing is you can look up for definitions in our knowledge base in the dictionary that we have built in, so you can reuse, for instance, pictures and definitions that are a little more, many of the descriptions are very short, so you can have a look at how people describe other concepts and create classes or copy content of it and have a look at it where it came from. So the other thing is that we have experienced that many, domain experts are very familiar with text editors like Word, wikis, stuff like that. They have knowledge in their mind, so it's easy for them to, just type stuff down. And it also, documentation along with ontology also serves it as a, structure, can give you introductory structure into the background of why things are modeled in a certain way. Something that, it is hard to do with simple comments on classes. So we want this, practically every public ontology project has a documentation alongside with it, and we believe that is very important. So the other thing is that you can always start to comment on things and have discussions. So this is my build machine, and I'm talking to myself mostly here, but in real life that works. And yeah, so this is the visual editor that we were talking about. So you can jump right in and see, okay, how does a person relate to an encounter? There's an, can have a look at it and see, okay, we can create an existing, reuse an existing property with the class encounter, or we can say, okay, did it intend event? So actually, we do not have a property in our ontology that does that. So none. Yeah. So I will just quickly create a new one, and that's it. So you can go in here and explore the concepts from your ontology and just have stuff, drag it in and reuse the stuff that you have, the terms that you have defined in your ontology already. And so of course you can comment here. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it your ontology or is it a group ontology? And if it's a group one, then what's the governance, and you know, how do you go through the business process of deciding what changes you're going to accept and so on? So
this is my own ontology that I have extended from schema.org, and at the moment we can have different users in ModernMyAuth can have 3 different roles. So the one is admin, so you can administrate the whole thing. The other role is editor, and the other role is reviewer, which are allowed to comment. So editors can currently modify everything in ModernMyAuth. There's no more fine-grained control yet. But so you can have people make changes, and with our GitHub version history, you can see which changes were done, and can use that as some sort of governance, which to merge into your actual ontology. So that's the status quo, and we're trying to make that more powerful in future.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds really interesting. So could I, for example, load up a particular branch from GitHub?
Yeah, you can. So I don't know if I haven't associated my GitHub account here. So let's see. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
So but it doesn't show up here. So I'm sorry, there's a bug here. There should be the GitHub browser there.
But the intention is to using GitHub as your thing for managing kind of like version control and processes and things like that. Is that it?
Yes, you have version control, you have branching, the most powerful platform for this kind of thing. And the other thing is that you get revision histories back to day 0.
Right. Okay.
So it's very, very powerful, and we just like to reuse that system and not reinvent the wheel on that. And the other thing is with GitHub, especially, they have something like it's called GitHub Actions, which means that you can have trigger your own scripts and DevOps operations on new commits on your ontology. So if there's a new version, you can run shackle validations, you can run code generators, you can run deployment scripts that deploy your ontology to databases. So that's very flexible.
But does it also mean that if I wanted to add 1 or 2 more constraints, I could load from the GitHub into Protege and then back?
Yes.
Yes, it's in. This is in. We create turtle files, and you can use RDF XML, but our default format is turtle, so you can load it in Protege as well.
Okay.
I have
thanks.
a question about editing the properties. So you said you do RDFS. So that means there's a way to supply domain and range. There's a way to supply definitions, comments, etc. How does that work? And you can say whether it's transitive or functional or things like that.
Yes. So these constraints are coming soon. We will do inverse properties, functional properties, and these kind of things, because it's important and it's rather easy to do for us, and it's symmetric properties as well. So that's going to be here in a different tab. At that level, we will have support for OWL and be more than just RDFS.
What about something simpler than that? Annotations. We used to use RDFS comment. Now we use SCOS definition and SCOS example and things like that. How do you decide what annotations you want to use? How can that work here?
So at the moment, we are using schema.org as annotations in our ontologies, but we will be able to define mappings, a set of annotation triples that you'd like to be used for you, like RDFS comments or SCOS definition. It's just a mapping issue for us. We'd like to hide these details from the user because you usually set that up once, decide, okay, your ontology will have use these triples to annotate your descriptions, and users don't care about it in the detail.
What about, can you just maybe do an example? Oh, here's attended. So
so that's a property called attended and somebody visited or I don't know, some event.
Okay, so that's the text describing it. So my question is, what's the default for what that looks like in triples? What property did you use to attach the string to that attended property?
So there's always this, we use RDFS range. We always assert that it is defined by our ontology. You have the domain here. We use the schema vocabulary at the moment for annotations internally because schema.org is very powerful. And what we will do is you will be able to define mappings from schema. Instead of schema name, you want to have RDFS, FOF name, for instance, or DC name or whatever. That will be up to you.
And you said, to be clear, you require every property to have both a domain and also a range. Did I understand you correctly?
No. We do not require, but we encourage.
Okay, fair enough.
Because if you do not have a domain or range, then these properties apply practically to everything, which is most of the time not true.
Right. Another thing, this tool, the only other tool I'm aware of that has some strong similarities here is Graphos. How would you place yourself in the context? How do you position yourself as a competitor to Graphos, or don't you see yourself as a competitor?
We're aware of Graphos, and Graphos is very focused on visual editing, which is great. It does that very well. But my and our criticism is that visual editing alone doesn't scale very well. If you have an ontology like schema.org that has 800 classes and thousands of properties, and you want to lay it out, there will not be a perfect or suitable way to view it. So we want to be hybrid. We want to offer visual editing capabilities where they are great, like designing or explaining relations and parts of the ontology. Provide the background information that led to this particular design and let you choose to explore a huge, so we will be using more this visual editor browser more in the view, but that's our approach, and I think that's a bit more pragmatic.
Thank you.
So Sebastian and Moritz, Steve Herskovitz has a question about code generation, and I know the bridges between other developer groups is really an important feature to my mind when we talked earlier about modem.io. Can you talk more about what languages you generate and how you go about it, that kind of thing?
Sure. At the moment, we offer to download your ontology in Turtle and RDF.XML. That's a no-brainer. Then we provide code generators that can turn your class hierarchy into code, or you can transform it just into vocabulary scripts. That's also possible. So at the moment we have an engine, our own engine that creates C# packages for Trinity RDF object mapper. So this is how it looks like. It will use the descriptions from your ontology. It will remodel the class hierarchy and assert certain properties. So developers can use that without being domain experts. And it's not so hard to make mistakes in just using triple-based APIs. But we also support generating classical triple-based APIs, and with the help of Olga, which is a tool, a platform developed by Schneider Electric, we can also generate Java RDF4J and Python packages they have been using. And it's extensible. Our own engine is based on templates, so you can practically build or generate everything that you can think of.
And
does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. It does, Sebastian. I think Moritz had some examples. Or at least one example that he walked me through that sort of underscored the power of that approach.
Moritz, do you want to show that?
Yeah, of course. So was this the example about the CAD company, WS CAD?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in this case,
why not share your screen then, Moritz?
Why I don't have anything to show. I just can tell you what happened there. So what we did for that company was basically we took their relational data model, and in workgroup sessions we turned it into an ontology, and from that we generated code to actually create a database layer for a relational database again. But in the core, the data model the data model was an information model modeled in an ontology. So we basically set up a workflow for them to use Modem.io for the domain experts to pour their domain knowledge into the model, and the model got fed directly as code packages back to the developers. And the developers, they were not confident using triple stores, because that basically the software is a desktop application, and they didn't want to install a graph database on their clients' computers. So they needed to use relational databases. So, and the developers weren't also very familiar with the whole technology. So we generated from the ontology, we generated basically a code package for what's it called?
Entity framework.
Entity framework, right? So that's basically an Hibernate for C#. Right, and yeah, so they now had a well-documented information model that got converted into code packages.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was talking about, Moritz. Thanks for that summary. Any thoughts on that capability to the group?
Well, in my opinion, in my opinion, it's the developers they don't really care. I would like to say, about the technology they use underneath. So if they in the end of the day, they want to be productive, right? So if you give them the tools, like in our case, if you give them an object mapper to use to access a triple store, they would do it. And I mean, in that case, we used an object mapper that ran on top of a relational database. But in the end, we could have used a triple store as well, as long as the developers didn't got in touch with the technology. And I guess that extrapolates to everything we do, because we try to abstract all the stuff that is underneath and try to let the users basically describe what they do or do their work. Like the domain experts, they just want to tell people how their domain looks like, right? So this is what we do with our tool. We give them something where they can put in their information. Like in our case, it was I gave the domain experts some sort of tasks where we defined together the classes, and they defined how the classes looked like, and they used Modem.io for that. And so I think if you guide people, they can, or the domain experts, they can do a lot of the work that you usually do by yourself.
So if we're understanding correctly, the C# programmer, for example, can query the triples in this fashion. Is that the bottom line here?
With the Trinity RDF, with our object mapper, that's possible, right? So in C# there is a language construct that's called LINQ, language integrated query, and people are pretty familiar with that. And oh yeah, Sebastian, that is it. So if you now have a developer who just knows how to use C# well, you can just give them a library package, and he will be able to query a triple store without even knowing that it's a triple store underneath it.
So if I may say a thing or two here, so this is a query to a database context, selecting all instances of the class person. And this indicates that we want inferencing to be applied. So we also receive all subclasses of that. And that feature alone is something that you don't get from a classical ORM solution like Entity with the flexibility, because it's very complicated to map that into relational databases. So we experience, for instance, with Schneider Electric developers, some reservation about the technology. It's so complicated, and you know, all the URIs and stuff, and I don't like it. And when we implemented a project with them with Trinity RDF, in the end, they really, really liked it, and they really enjoyed it. And that's how you really can lower the bar for adoption of this technology. So that query language here, where you set a constraint on birthday and select everybody that starts with A, that's integrated into the C# language, and practically everybody, say, with C# knows how to do that. So you don't see any RDF here.
So
this is translated into Sparkle.
So in your graphic example there, you had a red person and a blue person, and presumably they were in different namespaces, right? You had the blue person starting from the red person, right? So which person is this one? See,
this is schema.org, and this is our own.
I understand. So the person in the code, right? In this code example.
Yeah.
So that depends, because when we generate classes in the namespaces. So we generate namespaces as well. So it doesn't show here, but you would do an import on top and say import person from something, and say, okay, I import this person now.
Can I just loop back to the question around deltaing and understanding the difference between branches? I mean, do you have the ability to show the delta between the two models, or am I just going to look at each branch? How do I compare changes?
So at the moment, we're at the very start with GitHub integration. So you can do commits to branches and revert them, or do basic operations with that. So we haven't gone into making deltas and more. We do have merging features, but there's some things that we still can improve on. But that's where we are going.
Okay.
May I also quickly reply to Ben there, because it is fun that you're asking this question, because we have had this request prior a few times already, and as Sebastian already said, it is definitely something that is on a very high position on our list, and we are ready to implement if the demand gets stronger, or even stronger, I would say.
I'm just thinking of scenarios where I've got different domains being modeled by different subject matter experts, and inherently there's some common model in there, and the thing we're looking to do is be able to collapse that out.
Right.
So are you talking about something like a refactoring of a model, basically, so that you have two models and try to find common things, or you select some things and say, okay, I want these into a new move to another ontology or something like that? Oh yeah,
that scenario definitely.
Yeah,
refactoring.
So these are actually features that so as Stefan said, so we are at the beginning of releasing Modem.io now, so we see a lot of things that we want to do, because we see a lot of potentials of improving the work with ontologies, and I think we're just getting started doing things better, I would say, and we have a lot of ideas, and refactoring is on the very top of the list, because there are so many things that can be automated during this process.
I think for us, what we're very interested in is how do we bring this community back together, and giving them the capacity to, collaboratively generate ontologies and to share their ontologies and refactor them is probably central to ensuring that community remains a cohesive set rather than fragmenting.
True. I think that's one of the issues that I have seen over the years, is that there's a lot of fragmentation in the ontology community, and people start their own projects and hardly integrate to one another. And I think the technology has the capability to do that. It's just, I think the tooling is just not encouraging that. So we try to take that out of the loop and make it a non-issue, to explore, to find related concepts and actually do, integrations, and have, something that I call shared conceptualization. And one of the reasons we chose also GitHub integration is because that also allows for a community-based workflow, and we're not offering a community edition yet, but we are thinking about it.
And also the idea of the knowledge base that we have in Modem.io. So you have all the ontologies that are in there are basically linked together. So if you, thanks for showing. So if you import in the knowledge base, if you load a new ontology into the knowledge base that imports something else from the knowledge base, these are automatically linked together and basically queried together. So when you look at the classes and see the class hierarchy, that shows you basically the hierarchy of the imported ontologies as well. So I think if we go one step further and do the same as relationships a bit better, then you will see that doing mappings between ontologies will be much easier.
Thank you.
And so what do you charge for this?
So the regular price is for the cloud-based version is going to be $119 per month, or if you take a whole year in advance, it is $1,190, or in euros this transfers to 99 euros per month, or 990 euros if you pay a year in advance. This is the regular price, and there is an introductory offer in the rest of December and January, which we will be happy to announce once the ink has dried on the terms of use, which is going to be within the next 1 or 2 weeks.
And
that is per person?
This is per instance, but Moritz, can you specify, please?
No, yeah, that's so. What we set up is a private instance per customer, and that the price is per user in this instance.
The price is per user.
Per user, yes.
Okay.
And there's also a on-premise offering if that's required.
So can I ask a question into the round, actually? Is that something that you would tolerate?
Oh, yeah, sure.
No, I'm just kidding. But as I assume that so many of you actually are at the very core of what we are addressing, I would like to know 2 things. And one thing is, which ontologies would you like to find in the knowledge base? We told you that we curate the knowledge base, and this is according to the requests that we receive. And it is something that we offer as a service, and this is something that differentiates us from our competition a lot, I would say. So one, which ontologies would you like to find in the knowledge base? And then the other thing that we would like to know is, which tools do you use to gather the information necessary to create an ontology from domain experts? These things would really interest me, and these things would also help us advance a lot.
I think many of us will say in unison, the ontology you need is gist. Else, that's
okay.
Don't need anything else. I don't know what all this other stuff is, but anybody else have any ontologies they think worth including?
Well, there's just a massive list in the life sciences, isn't there? I mean, it's
right.
I don't even want to start in on it. Yeah, but
there have been over the years a few ontology search engines. One that was around, I don't think it's maintained anymore, at University of Maryland, was called Swoogle for semantic web search.
Oh, yeah.
And then
yeah.
I don't think it's maintained anymore. And then there was something else that came after that, and I can't think what it was. Something like that might be what you want here.
Well, there's
the trouble
ontology lookup service provided by the EBI. That's
yeah, there must be something
massive.
that's decent. I haven't used it myself. Yeah.
So yeah, we are very much interested in also in industry ontologies. Do you have any of them? Like, are you using Brick or Zaref or E-Class even?
We talked to the E-Class guys.
Kenny?
Didn't get anywhere with that.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things from a technical perspective is that always bothers me is that there's a lot of ontologies out there, but they never assert license information.
Right.
Very seldom.
Right.
So but license information is critical, I think, if you like to be able to, safely integrate stuff. And does anybody know best practice vocabulary with licenses license terms that we might be using?
So there's the ODRL if you're sticking to W3C, but also there's a much shorter Creative Commons one.
Right.
which is succinct and probably good enough for a lot of things.
That's what Jim uses.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is also associated with Linux Foundation, another one. Now, what's it called? I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. All right, good.
So on the tool question, did anybody have I don't know that we use tools to elicit design, do we? I don't even know quite what that means. What were you thinking of? Can you give an example of what were you thinking of there?
Well, it's like I was asking about the tools that would be used to gather the information necessary from domain experts, and so can you elaborate on this question maybe?
Do you hold workshops or something to is that the main tool basically? So it's not I think the question doesn't pertain especially to software tools, but just to what does your process look like? Because in my experience, it was mostly workshops where you talk to people and note things down basically, and then get to work. So what was your experience with that?
Yeah, we used to use workshops a lot, and I think something changed in the world where you couldn't get enough people in a room for long enough to get anything done, and we've ended up more scouring documentation, creating hypotheses, and then having small one-on-one or one-on-three kind of sessions. The workshops kind of fizzled. We haven't had a workshop for ages.
Yeah, I can imagine why, because sorry.
Yeah, we just had an exercise of generating application ontology, and it was a bit like a Tower of Babel trying to run the workshop. We just had to break out into small groups. The ontologists just started going mad. They couldn't deal with all the conflicting views that were thrown at them.
Right.
But this is where I say, we want to do lots of little models and then be able to coalesce them back together again.
Yeah, I think this is also the kind of workflow that you described last time together with Tom, when you discussed how you actually started off with a very small use case with scientists to go through, and then so this is why I even started asking last time how this workflow looks like, and now I'm coming back to this, looking at the visual editor of Modem.io. Do you think this is, for instance, something that will come in handy as domain experts and ontologists sit together and try to work out the knowledge model that actually goes into a productive system then?
I think anything that helps us with that sketching process. We've been playing with Graphos. What you've got, it would be interesting to do some experimentation with that, see if that helped. But in the end, it's about coalescing those models back down into something like Protégé or Top Rate Composer, and actually, when you're the ontologist, you want the full power, right? You don't need to see the visual graph.
Right.
So what we're actually developing towards is to integrate a sort of we used to call it interview functionality, but where you send out tasks to users to basically just look at parts of the ontology of the model, then, and just let them ask them questions. So have a list of tasks to complete. And this is what the visual editor, for example, would be great, where you give the user just a link and they go to it and see, okay, please now do this or describe that and write a description here or something like that. So this is and this would result back to a model that you can integrate into the existing model, or you can just iterate upon and say, oh, we need to get more into detail, or you got this wrong, please do it again, or something like this. So the idea here is to have a process in place that's guided by the tool.
Can I ask, with the tool that you've got, how much of it is done in the browser and how much of it is a lot of round tripping to the server? So for example, is there inference? Is there any kind of validation of the model done in the browser?
Sebastian, do you want to answer that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we used to do everything in browser. Yeah. When we had GitHub, we used with the GitHub integration, we did everything in the browser and practically wrote an inferencing engine and all of this. But we transitioned to a client-server-based model simply for the reason because we would like to move into real-time collaboration, and that's very hard to do if you're doing everything on your own. Yeah. So we do have the inferencing capabilities of a database, of our database, and for validation, we'd like to move into SHUCKLE area where you set up your constraints and have them validated every time you make changes.
So one thing that I think would be good would be to have textual competency questions that would then be formalized either in Sparkle or Shackle or something like that, and that could be kind of tested as you're going along.
You mean as a means of getting input from users?
As a means of users defining what the ontologist has to actually deliver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we definitely want to go more into NLP and add more NLP features into Modom.io, especially when to the article and wiki system, because when people put in their text and their descriptions in plain text into the article system, then there's a lot information already encoded there, and we'd like to improve that workflow so you can easily extract that stuff.
Yeah. Also, generally for an IDE to have the ability to kind of log first of all what tasks are and where they kind of fit into the proposed design is kind of helpful, because I think things like PyCharm and other things like that have got the ability to put in that type of documentation as you're going along, and to have task lists and what have you. And it looks as though you've got quite a number of those things in there, but nothing very specific for like competency questions.
Mm-hmm. What about Shackle? Do you have support for Shackle, current or planned?
Planned.
Okay.
It's definitely more on a higher priority as advanced inferencing features, because we don't like to compete with Protege for that particular use cases, because we will never be better than them.
For what they do.
In that regard, but for everyday and every life application development, I think Shackle is a very useful.
So I just, as I think we're kind of on the verge of reaching the end of this meeting, I just sent a chat message with for once the website. So please do not hesitate to reach out to set up meetings with us where we can go further in depth with Modom.io and show you around in this software and hopefully convince you to actually give it a try and explore Modem.io and benefit from Modem.io.
Well, thanks for the talk. It was very inspirational and got some good stuff out of it. Hey,